Hey, what's up guys, this is Mr. Damon and welcome to my first time. It's a little bit different from the Minecraft videos I've been doing recently, but I was tagged by the lovely Miss Carrot Top, and it's just a list of different questions that is going to be going around via a chain. And let's just jump right into these questions, shall we? The first YouTube video that I ever did. Now, I've had a couple of YouTube videos that I bounced around. I uploaded them down and deleted. The first one I think I can remember and I think I can access is just an intro test that I did back when I was first starting to think about uploading. I did an intro, and the intro was rather long. I think I remember it being around 40-45 seconds long, and I kept it for a little while until I started getting criticisms about it being too long, and I watched one of my videos and was like, okay, yeah, this is definitely too long, and I cut it down. I did keep the same theme song for a little while, and I've come back to it now with my most recent couple of intros that I've had. So that was my first YouTube video. First person I subscribed to on YouTube. That is a big question. Oh dear God. I like keeping my subscriptions list rather clean. Only keep people that I actually am subscribed to, that I watch their content on. And so if you have a subscription for me, you know that I actually watch your content. Even if I'm not commenting on it, I am liking it and I'm watching it. Dear God, who was my first subscription? It was probably somebody that I worked alongside. It may have been, actually, now that I think about it, it may have been Fruity Scream. Good friend of mine. We haven't done a video in a while. We have a plan on a video, but we haven't in a while. He does mainly horror games and is not in Minecraft, so that's why I haven't done anything with him for a little while, because I've been focusing mainly on Minecraft. My first Facebook profile pic. Oh dear God. You may notice I am a little bit older than. I got a few hairs here. I'm a little bit older than most of the people that do Minecraft videos, and I've had a Facebook profile since Facebook first started. And my first picture I cannot even remember. I have no way of accessing whatever. For my current profile, which is my YouTuber profile, it is this right here. Put my finger in the screen. Here is this right here. And that's just something that I threw together for the profile. Do you still talk to your first love? God. My first love. Well, I've only ever had two loves. And one was kind of weird because she kind of used me in a way. My first love, oh, no. I have had three. And my first love was a girl that I met at summer camp. Her name was Rebecca Rhodes. And we just kind of clicked at summer camp, and we spent the whole week together, and we always sat together, we always talked about everything, and I remember that week, and at the end of that week, when we were leaving, I couldn't find her. I wanted to say goodbye, give her a hug, maybe a kiss, I don't know. Just say goodbye, and I couldn't find her, and my parents kind of pulled me away. And when I got home, I cried for about an hour because I couldn't remember. And thankfully, the summer camp had a website, and we were able to get a little bit of contact information. We started pen pal back and forth, and it didn't really lead anywhere. And she's since moved on, and I haven't talked with her in ages, like years. It's been since before my marriage right now, even a few years before that. So no, I don't still talk to her. What was my first alcoholic drink? My parents are gonna hate me for this, but my first alcoholic drink, I was, I think, either 16 or 17. And it was my friend Joe's. We were playing World of Warcraft, having a World of Warcraft party. And granted, it was only one computer, so it wasn't much of a party. He was playing on his, and then every now and then he'd give me a chance, but it would be like, oh, he'd take a 5-hour long, raid, and then he'd let me do a 10-minute long dungeon, and then he'd have a turn again on a 5-hour long raid. It was so on one of those, I just got so bored, and they had some Smirnoff Ice, and I don't remember what flavor it was, but these were actual vodka in them, not the Smirnoff. It's either Twists or Ice. I can't remember. One of them has the vodka in, and one is the malt beverage. But the one that has alcohol vodka, I think it was the Twist, was the one that I had, and I liked it. And I only had one, and it didn't really affect me that much, even when I was that young. But that was the first drink I ever had. I think it was either 16 or 17. What was my first job? Well, my first job official job was I was working at Hannaford, which is a local superstore, mainly working around grocery store. And I was working in the produce department, which is where that particular superstore started, was in the produce section. They started as a farmer's market stall selling produce. So and I was there. It was a summer job while I was in school, and I came back after college for a little bit, and I was there on total for about 2 years, but given that it was only a summer job, it was probably only about 8 months total that I was working there. What was my first car? My first car was a green 2003 Chevy Metro. This little dinky car had go-kart wheels and was a 4-cylinder, had absolutely no power behind it, and it was a standard, and it was clunky, and I loved the thing, and I took the thing up Mount Washington and broke it. Oh my god, I love that car, but I ended up having to scrap it. It was just so bad and broken that I couldn't repair it, didn't have the money to repair it. My parents didn't want to spend the money to repair it, so that was my first car. Who was the first person to text you today? That would be my wife. It's always my wife. She's the only person I ever really text. I have a couple friends from work that I text here and there, but pretty much the only person I get text from is my wife. I live a rather boring life that way. Who was the first person you thought of this morning? Again, my wife. It's, I wake up next to her. Why shouldn't she be the first person I think of? Who was my first grade teacher? Oh dear God. Carrot actually, I think, misread this question. She said great teacher, and I'm going to answer it that way because I can't remember my first grade teacher. Actually, I can answer that question. I skipped first grade. A little known fact, I skipped the first grade. When I was in kindergarten, I was reading chapter books at a 5th grade level, and my parents were like, our son's so smart, he doesn't need first grade, he could skip to 2nd grade. So I skipped to 2nd grade, and my handwriting and penmanship has definitely suffered from it, because first grade's where you learn most of that stuff in the American learning industry. Yeah. And yeah, so my handwriting suffered, but I skipped first grade. But my first great teacher was Mr. Otterson. He in the same school. I started working with him in 3rd grade. It was part of the Gifted and Talented program, and he was an amazing teacher. He worked with us almost one-on-one every other day, and there were 2 kids in 3rd grade he worked with, and once I got into the bigger elementary school in 4th grade, there were probably 6 or 7 in his class, and he'd take us out of our normal classes and pull us into his classroom for about an hour a day. But he was just an amazing teacher. So, next question. Where did you go on your first ride on an airplane? Well, my first ride on an airplane, I don't actually remember. I was too young. I was a little kid. And I think it was to Wisconsin to see my grandmother and grandfather. But I don't remember. The one I can remember was we took a trip down to Florida, and we'd been going on vacations to Florida for quite a while, like every other year for a few times, and we'd always been driving. And we came to realize that, we spend 2 days worth of drive. We start on Friday. We start driving that night. We don't get to Florida until Monday morning. And then we have until that Thursday, and then we gotta leave, and we don't get home until Sunday night the next week. So we only have like and we're so tired Monday we don't want to do anything. So we only had Tuesday, Wednesday, and part of Thursday to do stuff. And it was like, why bother at that point if you're going to drive all the way down there and drive all the way back? So we figured out that flying, we could do it in one day. And it was just, we'd have the whole week. And it paid for itself by doing that. So that was where I went on an airplane. Who was your first best friend, and do you still talk? My first best friend. Oh dear God, that was so long ago. I want to say it was... I had a friend in 4th grade, and his name was Ernie. Ernie Roy, I think his name was. And no, we don't still talk. We lost contact after we got out of elementary school, and we just haven't talked since. But he was my best friend through 4th, 5th, and 6th grade, and I mean, I watched the kid get beaten while I was stuffed into the corner bathroom. That was probably the biggest thing I can remember from my elementary school, was that, and let's not bring that up. But yeah, Ernie Roy, first best friend. And no, we don't still talk. Where was your first sleepover? Well, it was at a friend's house. Kenny Lamb was his name. And we just had, my parents were going away for the weekend, and we needed a place for me to stay. I didn't want to stay at my grandparents, so I stayed over at Kenny's house for the night. And yeah, we had a blast. We played video games all night, and he had an N64, which was back in the day. But yeah, what was the first thing you did this morning? Well, that depends on which morning you talk about. I actually woke up 3 times this morning. Once at 4 o'clock to help my wife get out the door for work, get her coffee, start her car. She didn't want breakfast, so I didn't make her breakfast, but I had that. My hat's getting in the way of my face, so you guys can't see me. That might be a good thing. So I woke up at 4 to get my wife up. I woke up at 6 to get my son up and ready for school, and make him breakfast, pack his bag, and all that stuff. And then I went back to bed after he was on the bus. And then I woke up at 9, and I had a whole laundry list of chores on my honey-do list that my wife left me, and that mainly involved doing some dump runs and getting the garage cleared out of trash. So yeah, that was what I did this morning. And yeah. What was the first concert you ever went to? That's a good question. I can remember a Michael W. Smith concert that I went to, but I don't think that was the first one. I can remember a Chris Rice concert, but I don't think that was the first one. You can see a trend here. It's Christian music that I listen to, that I've been to concerts of. I haven't been to really concerts on anything else. I'm a little bit late to that. I would have to say the Chris Rice concert was probably my first. And yeah. First broken bone. Never had a broken bone in my life. I have had a smushed bone, a squished bone, if you will, but not broken. When I was I think I was just under a year old, I was, and this is the story my parents told me, I don't even remember this, but I can see the evidence on my hands. One finger's a little bit crooked than the other, but a friend of mine was running to the bathroom. I also had to go to the bathroom too. So we kind of raced. He got to the bathroom before me and slammed the door shut, and I had my finger in the door jamb, in the hinge, and he shut the door, and my finger just went squished right up. And my mother didn't hear me screaming at the pain because she had the blender going in the kitchen, is what she told me. So it took her a little bit before she realized that I was screaming in agony and came and helped me. And what she said was the doctors were able to just reform the bone, put a cast on it, and it was fine. But looking at my hands now, you won't be able to see it on there, but it's this finger right here. Just a little bit more crooked than the other hand. Okay, first foreign country you've gone to. Oh, geez. The only foreign country I've gone to, and this was only in transit, was Canada. I don't get out of the country ever. We were taking a trip to Wisconsin, and this one I do remember. We were taking a trip to Wisconsin, driving, and we drove through Canada, through the top part of Michigan, and then took a bridge to Wisconsin. And that was other than some minor trips in and out of Canada from my camp, that's the only time I've ever been out of the country. My first detention was in fifth grade, and it was because I kept forgetting homework. They had a policy that if you forgot homework a certain amount of times, you stayed after detention so that you could do the homework. And it was a rather good policy, but I'm pretty sure that by that time I had developed the ADD that I had in middle school and high school, and I just wasn't doing the homeworks. I'd forget them. I'd come home. My parents would ask me if I had homework. I'd say nope, and I'd go into my room and read a book, or actually I don't think I had video games, so I was reading books. But so that was it. 4 more questions. Who was your first roommate? Oh dear God. Ryan, and I don't remember his last name, but we were roommates. It wasn't until college that I got a roommate, and it didn't really work out because I'm not exactly a slob, but he was a little bit more of a neat freak. Not so much OCD, but he liked keeping things clean, and I didn't really care. I wasn't throwing muck around or slime, and it was like just piles of dirty laundry on the floor here and there, and maybe a dirty dish here and there, but I didn't keep anything unsanitary. It was just clutter and things like that. And it was just a few months after we moved to the college that he moved out of the dorm room and moved to a different dorm room, and then I had a room on the 3rd floor all to myself. And it was start of 2nd semester, I think. Yeah, it was start of 2nd semester that there was this whole thing where there was somebody who was OCD and a bit of a germ freak that was living with somebody who was a bit of a slob, and that just didn't work out. So the neat freak got, and I don't mean that in a derogatory sense, I just named because I can't remember names. Neat freak went up to my room. I moved down to the 1st floor with Shay, who was a great roommate, and his and my cleanliness perfectly matched. We had a carpet of, our whole room was a carpet of clothes, but there was a perfect line down the middle of this side was my clothes, this side was his clothes, and we kept it fairly balanced like that. But I moved downstairs into that room, and then Shay's old roommate moved in with the guy, and I don't mean slob, but he probably was the same as me. That guy wanted to move in, and I offered the room as a solution to their issue that they were having. But yeah, that was my roommate situation. What was the first sport you were involved in? The first sport, and probably the only sport that I've ever been involved in, was soccer or football in the UK and elsewhere. And it was in elementary school that I was in this, and I did really well. I played midfield, which is, you were running pretty much from defense line to defense line, almost the whole field. And I actually got an award for most assists on the last year that I was in elementary soccer. So I was like, oh yeah, I'm going to do really good in the middle school soccer program. And I get to the middle school soccer program, and I'm put on the substitute team. I'm not going to play unless one of the other teams has a member that's missing. And I was like, you know what, screw that, I'm not going to do it. And I haven't been playing sports since. Take that back. I was on the wrestling team in 8th grade. A friend of mine, Tyler Guerin, got me into it. And I sucked. I did not do well in the wrestling. There was only one guy in my weight class I was ever able to beat. So, yeah. What is the first thing you do when you get home? Usually the first thing I do is turn back on the computer. I get right back on the computer, see what Skype messages I've missed, log into my server and see if there's anything that's going on, although I haven't been doing that as much of late. And yeah, I just get on the computer. When was your first kiss? My first kiss, I had just turned Sweet 16, never been kissed. And this was along with my second love that I had, and I'll give the full story here. We had a Vacation Bible School, which is a 5-day program for kids during the summer where you can come and learn about the Bible and have fun activities and all this. But we were doing a special program with a group from New York, and a bunch of teenagers from the youth group were coming up to New York. Spent 2 weeks beforehand. The first week was just setting up and building and everything, getting everything ready. Then that was the first week. The second week was promotion, setting up flyers to different places, and really getting the VBS promoted out in the community. And then we actually had the program. But there was a girl, Lauren Schaller was her name. And I met her on the first day. First of all, I got so ingrained into this group that I ended up staying at the church with this group for the 3 weeks that they were there, starting on like the second or third day that they were there, because I became so much a part of this group. I even have one of the shirts that they gave away to their members and had everybody sign, and I have most of the people that were in that group sign it. But how do you describe it? She was a fling love. I really thought that I was only 16, and I wasn't thinking that I met the person I was going to spend the rest of my life with. But I thought someone I could spend some time with and at least date, even though we were living in different states. And it got to be that way during the 3 weeks, and we did end up kissing on, I think it was the second week was our first kiss, and she did kiss me right before she had to leave too. She even, everybody was loaded onto the bus, and she said, "Oh wait," and ran off the bus, came and kissed me, and then left. But, and I don't know if this was intentional or not, and I'm not holding it against her, but I did try calling her a couple of times after that, and she didn't respond. And by the time that she did, she was like, yeah, and she didn't seem to want to talk to me. And it was like, we spent that 3 weeks together, and you don't even want to talk to me anymore. So I kind of feel like I was played a little bit. Maybe it was just like, I'm going away, I can have a fling while I'm there, and no one back home will ever have to know about it. I feel like it might have been that kind of thing. But she was my first kiss, and she took that from me, and I really wish I could say my wife was my first kiss, but she is not. So there you have it. There's my first time. Wow, 25 minutes. It's a lot longer than I thought it was going to be. So here comes the part where I have to pick somebody else to do this. And I think I'm going to tag the English chick, Fee, you're up next. I will send you this list after you see this video and comment on it, letting me know you've seen it. And I hope to see you guys next time. Bye!